We will be free the moment we stop worrying about what other people think of us. I'm sure the vast majority of my audience would agree with this statement. But in the era of social media, the contradiction of participation is virtually impossible to resolve. Many people think of freedom in this context. A free people ought not only to be armed and disciplined, but they should have sufficient arms and ammunition to maintain a status of independence from any who might attempt to abuse them, which would include their own government. And, in the light of recent events, I would include the media. This is something that George Washington probably could not have possibly foreseen. That there are people out there who would give you information that would make you fearful, that would cause you to act in a way as if you were not free. President Kennedy said, only an educated and informed people will be a free people. I would add, only a properly educated and well-informed people will be a free people. Because we are free to choose, are we not? But we are not free from the consequences of our choices. If there was a little boy who cried wolf moment that happened over and over and over again, causing you to prepare for the end, only for it to be a false alarm, how long would it be before you stopped listening? Now, recently, we have seen choices for freedom, and consequences for said choices. About a week ago, I talked about this young woman, Trisha Foster, who works for the Tyrant Whitmer up in Michigan. And she was caught sharing pictures on Facebook of her trip to Florida. At the same time, the woman that she worked for was telling people, oh, Florida's horrible, and oh, we need to lock down and hide under our beds with Anderson Cooper, Dana Perino for another 3 or 6 or 9 months. Well, guess what? It's happened again. Another one of her aides, the woman on the far left, was caught vacationing in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Now, for those of you who don't know where that is, it is a very small section of Alabama. Most people in the South will know where it is for sure. Give me 1 second here. See if I can properly use a computer. This section of Florida, way out on the panhandle, there is a part of Alabama that actually makes its way all the way out to the Gulf of Mexico. And down here is Gulf Shores. Beautiful beaches. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you really wouldn't know the difference between this part of Alabama and Pensacola. This whole area right here, the landscape doesn't really change too much until you get into Mississippi. This part of Alabama is absolutely beautiful, Mobile. But the point is, it's great news. Some people would read this and think, aha, we caught him, it's hypocrisy. Well, there's a better way to read it. It's people choosing freedom. Now, should they have chosen to work for the Tyrant Whitmer? Well, we all make good decisions and we all make bad decisions, do we not? But freedom is one of those things that everyone values. We talked about this in yesterday's video. When you take away people's ability to self-determine, you create hopelessness. And hopelessness creates the situation we're seeing with virtually mass anxiety events on a daily basis. Today there was one in Austin, apparently. Now let me read this article for you because it's telling. Because the governor tries to slip in a little dig on Florida using false information, and that's why I started where I did, about the reality of information and freedom being hand in hand. They dovetail well together. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer on Sunday blamed travelers for a growing number of B.1.17 coronavirus variant cases, asking for quote-unquote grace for a top staffer who took heat for a recent vacation in Florida. I wonder where her grace was when President Trump was in office. Quote, "At the end of the day, this is going to come down to whether or not everyone does their part," Whitmer told Meet the Press. "That's the most important thing. This variant, the B117, is what is growing so quickly in Michigan. We have the second most, I think, after Florida." This kind of stuff is what really gets under my skin, because she knows what she's doing. Michigan, compared to Florida, is a tiny, tiny state. Not even half, closer to really a third of our population. You cannot compare Michigan to Florida. In any universe can you do that. But of course, she's going to get away with it on Meet the Press. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. You can't try to tar and feather Florida. They have 3 times as many people as you do. Almost." Michigan and Florida are not next to each other, but this is the time of year that snowbirds come home from Florida. Once again, Fox doing the bidding of the left, trying to say, "Oh, it was Florida's fault. They have this open economy, and because they've chosen freedom, the people coming down there are going to take it back with them." And oh no. It's just ridiculous. Full court press on Florida. It really is right now. Whitmer's new health director traveled to Alabama earlier in April, shortly after the Democratic governor discouraged residents from traveling as Michigan led the nation in new coronavirus cases. Now think about that a minute. Little teeny tiny itty bitty Michigan leading the whole nation, California, Texas, Florida. They had more cases, and they have been under a tyrannical lockdown for a year. So much so that even aides to the governor are vacationing in the South. And they are welcome to come back. Governor Whitmer, this is for you. The two people on the left, Tricia Foster and Elizabeth Hurtle, are both employees of the state of Michigan, are they not? So it would be Michigan tax dollars that are paying their salaries, would it not be? So your two aides, in effect, took money they earned out of the coffers of the state of Michigan, because that is where their salaries come from, Michigan taxpayer money, and they redirected those funds into the coffers of Alabama and Florida, respectively. How bad a governor must you be? They can't even get on board with your stay-at-home, don't travel mandates, but they take their money paid by the people of Michigan and they redirect it into states that you love to demonize and attack. You see, this is why it is a cause for celebration. Now, to end the video, we're going to talk about another choice. This time, it's the people of California. Kroger closes 2 Southern California stores over $4 per hour hero pay ordinance. Now, think about that for a minute. They try to do something where they think it's a good idea, where the local government tells business, hey, you must pay $4 more an hour to these grocery workers because they're heroes. And then, of course, what does Kroger's do? What does the big grocery chain do? Fine, no problem. We'll close the stores. What about that right to have a job stuff? See, nobody is entitled to a job. A business isn't required to be open. If a government decides to be heavy-handed and get involved in telling business what it should and shouldn't do. So I wonder what's going to happen now. I wonder if those people who had those jobs that are all gone now would have said, I'll give up the $4 an hour if I can keep my job. choices. Choices have consequences. And the reason this last point has anything to do with the first point is because I don't think the employees of Kroger were given a choice. Meaning they didn't have all of the information available. Kroger didn't come to them and say, if you pass this ordinance, government of, where is it, Long Beach, we're going to close our stores. You should probably tell these employees that, and then ask them if they want to vote for this. You see, that's what real freedom is all about. You have to have the proper information. We will be free the moment we stop worrying about what other people, you ready for this, feel about us. Because it is so rare these days that anyone actually has a thought about someone else. It's all about feelings. And that's how you can tell these days a liberal tyrant from a freedom-loving conservative. One feels and one thinks. Like, share, subscribe.